Hi everybody and welcome back. If you've subscribed to my channel, thank you for doing that. Hope there's some fun stuff for you to watch, and it's up to me to make some more fun stuff. So as you probably know from if you've watched my last videos, I ended up with all these scraps. And if there's one thing that I don't lack, it's scraps. I have scraps everywhere. Rather than just throw them away, I thought, let's make some small projects. And so I was in search of that very thing today, is like, what would I do with all these scraps and make some fun small things? So I did the biplane, and I still have lots of scraps. So I thought, let me look around. And that's when I found, sometimes when you open the cabinets around these shops, it's like, hey, I forgot all about this. So that's when I found these parts up on the top shelf. An unfinished project from 12, 13 years ago. And I decided I want to finish this. It is a nutcracker. So sort of the premise here could be, you know, it is July after all, as I'm making this. It's Christmas in July. So for all my Hallmark movie friends, you know, this might be time to practice your woodworking skills, make a few Christmas gifts. I started looking at the Nutcracker and I thought, well, I can finish this one and I can also make another, a new design. So let me show you what I found. So, you know, my shop looks like this. So I will clean that up, but up here on the top shelf, when I was digging around for wooden wheels and parts, conveniently labeled, I saw that box and I thought, let's take a look at that. And so, here we go. So, now here's what happens. There's another project I can work on here. So this was the dinosaurs, you know, so I have the patterns that I used for that and some pre-made wheels and things, but that's I might have to make one of those. But then I found this. So the story here, I made a nutcracker. I decided I can do that, and so I started figuring out how would I do this nutcracker, and I made one, and then this was sort of the extra parts that are just kind of hanging around. So working out how to cut these, all these grooves and things. So here's how that works. So let me put this camera on the tripod. All right, so let's get this stuff out of the way. Close my cabinet door before I smack my head on it. I have a base. As you can see, there's some holes drilled there. I cut these a while ago. These are legs. Of course, they will get little boots and things. I used a dowel for this, to hold that, the nutcracker mechanism. These are not probably going to crack any actual walnuts, but they don't have to. So let's go up a little bit here. Actually, let's go back a little bit. That's me. Some dowels I cut on the lathe with some thingy-bobs. They go into there. Look how it all comes together. Right? Face with a nose. He goes on there. And then what I think is the hardest part is figuring out what kind of top, what kind of hat to put on the dude. There's this. I don't know if I like it. So that's kind of the fun part, though, is figuring out how to make this thing look like it's supposed to. Like for me, this would be like a classic German nutcracker. So there's usually some sort of military uniform with some gold and beads and trim, and obviously some long fur, probably black, and then he'll get painted up, and it's just a decoration. Like I said, I'm not worried about trying to actually crack walnuts with this guy like you probably could do, but I don't need that. So this is what I'm going to work on, and then maybe I'll take some of those scraps and make up a new guy. and just see if I can get another nutcracker out of that and maybe change the design on that one a little bit. Let's see where we go. So believe it or not, I still have the jig I used to cut this groove, right? So the way I did this, I cut this piece on the lathe first. I don't know why I would do that. Anyway, then this I screwed in actually to where the legs will mount. Flipped it over with that and ran it through the table saw. I don't think I'm going to do that this time. I don't know. If I do, I'm going to figure out a better way to mount this thing. Maybe to do it before I cut it on the lathe. I don't know. I'm just going to see. Anyway, there we go. So one of the things I'm thinking, these are the legs, and they're made out of a dowel. I just put them in the lathe and cut this little band detail. I think I want them to sit in holes in the base to keep them more stable. So then that little nub at the bottom is not going to be long enough. So I'm going to make some new ones. And then I'm going to make him some shoes. I'll make some, chunkier looking boots, and I'll round them over. And that's the way I'm going to go with it. Pretty crude, but this is I'm making the boots. And so I just kind of eyeballed how big I need these things. What I'm going to do to cut them free is to drill with this Forstner bit, which is the same size generally as this dowel, right down through the top, and then hopefully it'll fit right around the leg when I get done. So this is what I was going for. So if you can kind of see that could potentially be a sort of shoe at some point. I'll round it and kind of shape it, and then eventually the leg, well, it'll be a different, but it'll fit down inside of there and fit nicely, right? Shoe. I didn't cut all the way through, as you can see, because when you do, the little piece shoots off across the shop. And I also have the piece trapped between the fence and the drill bit, which is also a stupid thing to do. So I stopped on this one. See, you just try it, you learn, go for it. So I don't know what I like yet here, but so I decided to start with the head. And so what kind of hat goes on this guy? It's going to look weird, but with the hair, it would be okay. Although I still wonder how to finish it. So I've decided to make a military hat. So it'll be, with a brim, something like, it looks crude, but what I want to do is cut a little notch. So I'll recess that. There are lots of ways to do that. I could set up the router table and run it across a bit and it'd be great. But I'm too impatient for that. So here's what I'm going to do instead. I'm going to use double stick tape. I'm going to put the piece on here enough to hold it, to hopefully keep it from spinning wildly. This gives me a flat surface on this piece. And I will run it into the bandsaw just a half an inch. Try to keep all my fingers in place. And look, it worked. So I have the first coat of primer on the Nutcracker. I have all the individual pieces done. I taped up these ends to make sure I still have a bare wood surface to get glued into the bottom of the body. I think the hat's kind of goofy looking. It's too short, but I'm going with it because I already had it. So I just really need to figure out a design to put on here with some sort of jacket. He'll have black shoes, white pants instead of boots, but it'll be fine. And then I will come up with another one. So here's the head of the Nutcracker, and I could just paint the eyes on, but I decided I'd try to give it a little bit of a texture. So I still have to clean it up just a little bit, but what I'm going to do is just make a little indent, and then I can put the eye on there. So I started with a coping saw and just tried to really just make a very light cut. I initially tried filing it, just kind of going across and taking care of it that way. But really what works best, if you have a means of holding it steady, is just a chisel and just take very careful passes there finish it up with a little bit of 100 grit, and then the trick will be to get this side to match that side. And here he is here. You take the hat off, take the shadows away. So, came out pretty even. I'm going with it. So here I am again. I'm in the middle of painting this, and I thought, I need to do something a little different. So I made these. I made a sword and the start of a rifle. And to make him hold the rifle, I had to make a new piece for his arm. So this will go up there like that. I don't know. See how it fits. His hands are really long. I don't know if I like that. I might shorten that up just a little bit because he would be gripping it and his hand would be smaller, you see. But he'll grip the rifle. And I'll just continue painting for now and see how it goes. So I'm almost done with my Nutcracker here. Now I started this, as I said, I don't know, 13, 14 years ago. And I'm just getting around to finishing it. The construction of it, if you're good with a lathe, you know, you've got some lathe work to do. I use these basically 3/4 inch dowels and just cut some, you know, lines to sort of define some of the cups of the pants and the top of the boots and things like that. I cut some grooves here around the sleeves to add this gold detail. But other than that, you're just making things that you would normally probably make in a wood shop, except much smaller. And then painting, which is the most difficult part, I think. So never mind, you need about 3 coats of this acrylic sort of paint, which is what I was using, to get a good solid color that you don't see brush strokes. But just the details of it. So here's how my face ended up. Grumpy looking, isn't he? I think it's pretty good. Now I used, obviously I used the acrylic paint for a lot of it, but these paint pens are awesome. You need all different sizes of brush, right? But you just patience, because you're going to need to do everything you do here probably 3 times to get everything to cover. But it's coming together nicely. Got a little bit more detail work on the uniform here, and this will be ready for assembly. What do you think? I think it's good. So if you're thinking of doing one of these, they're a lot of fun and they're satisfying. And I think the best thing for me was to go to the Google and just search for German nutcrackers, go to images, and just kind of get some inspiration, see what looks good to me. There's no real rule, I don't think, just kind of whatever looks good to you, which is how I'm ending up with these buttons the way I am. I'm just making it up as I go. If I like it, great. If not, I'll be painting over it, but I think it's okay. It's something. It'll have a beard over part of it, so another button here. I'm trying to make a belt buckle, and so I drilled a hole. I'm going to cut this square, and then I'll cut the outside out. That'll put a piece of ribbon through it for the waistband around my Nutcracker's uniform. We'll see. Okay, so I'm just painting up some of the pieces that are going to be hard for the spray to get into. I just want to point out I'm using this crystal clear Krylon, which is good for acrylic paint. It is actually an acrylic coating. So I'm trying that instead of the water-based poly. I have used this before, but this is more for bigger stuff. I think I get a finer finish with this, so that's what I'm going with. So I'm giving my Nutcracker some hair, so I decided to glue the back on first, let that dry a little bit, and I'll work my way around and trim this. I have to stretch it a little and maybe cut some pieces, but this is new stuff for me. I don't know, but his head's a little bit crooked. It's fine. I can pick it apart all day. Here's my finished Nutcracker here. So after he's got all of his stuff on, nice polished shoes, the strap on the rifle, a metal belt buckle made out of a vegetable can, hair from Hobby Lobby. He came out pretty good. All the work in this is really in the details, so the construction was not bad, but man, painting and finishing was a lot of work.